that was on way less growth hormone. So I haven't seen a difference between, doing 18 IUs now versus like 6 to 8 IUs years ago. Literally like a reverse Tabata training. So I'll hold the vacuum for 10 seconds and then take 20-second rest. Yeah, I mean, number one is picking the hormones that work best with you. It's just eye-opening. I was like, holy shit, what am I doing to myself? Yeah. Turns out my blood pressure was like 180 over 110. I went and got a sperm test done and a fertility test done, and it said I had zero sperm in it.
All right, we are recording. So fun one tonight for everybody. For those of you in audio land and YouTube and all of their platforms that we're on, we have Chase Irons joining us. So really excited to have Chase on. You may have seen him in his Chase Irons has his own YouTube channel, growing very, very fast. A lot of content on there. He also has competed in bodybuilding, coaching, a lot of transformation programs he does. And he pops around a lot of different YouTube channels. Big Paul, a good friend of ours from Anabolic Bodybuilding, I believe Vigorous Steve, a couple others that you're on. So thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me on.
So yeah, I know you do a lot of Q&As with this guy who just popped in, Mr. Coach Kolton Lukes, hopping in. So welcome. Yeah. So for the first attachment group out there, Mr. Harris will be joining soon. He lost power today, but like the trooper that he is, he's working on getting back on. So I tagged in Kolton just to kind of help out and add some to the discussion today. So we'll get rolling. But I know you guys kind of collaborate a lot on the different Q&As, and we did one last week. We're trying to get more in a cadence, and we'll rotate different guests to join us with that. We just really love giving back to the audience, and it's kind of selfishly I get to ask a lot of questions and learn. I've been around the sport, all the strength sports and bodybuilding and things my whole life, as of Justin, but we kind of always enjoy hearing from different coaches' perspectives, different parts of the world, things like that. So I'm interested, maybe if we kick it off with you, Chase, like what are some of the interesting or unique type of questions out there that you get, and that either on your YouTube channel or other channels you've been on?
I mean, lately, the most common questions that I get are regarding my current cycle, my current growth hormone usage, to get right into it. But asking me about side effects specifically, and why I tend to not experience hardly any side effects. And then tons of questions of people asking me how to set up their own cycles to, go about, trying to do somewhat of what I've been up to this last year. And then another huge question is fertility questions, because over the last year, that was something else that I've done successfully, was take my sperm count from 0 to, well, it was only like 12 million sperm per milliliter, but it was enough to successfully conceive. And we are well on our way to having a baby, which will be, it's due early February, I believe. So
nice. Yeah. Well, congrats on that. I'm sure that's an interesting topic for a lot of people out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Is this live right now? I was looking on the channel. I'm trying to find if it's live.
It's not live streaming, but we're recording right now.
Okay, cool.
At least I don't think I'm live streaming. Like, surprise!
Whoops.
Gotta love technology, right? Or at least the morons like me that use it wrongly. So how about you, Kolton? Like any questions, thoughts that come up that kind of pop out to you, either that Chase has been asked or maybe things that you've been asked that you find interesting?
Well, I first of all have to say that I love what Chase is doing, because he kind of, I think he's like the first guy to very explicitly say exactly what he's doing and very openly confront certain people within the industry about what he's doing and their beliefs compared to his, which I think is really cool. You have someone who's willing to sort of do the experiments that people wish they could do, but either are too afraid to do or just don't have the resources to do so. So I'm always ecstatic to see what Chase is doing because it's really exciting for me. But I think probably what I get, just because I'm a little bit younger, I get more of the younger demographic asking more particular questions about, unfortunately, like what SARMs they should use, and if they're going to start their first cycle, what should that look like? And they tend to look at me for evidence to what they should do, and I try to provide as much guidance as possible, but there's not a whole lot to do there as far as like giving them recommendations, because everyone's so different, and you have so many you have all this dichotomous information online about what's right and wrong. So it's usually along those lines about, hey, maybe there aren't as advanced as Chase is, and not asking about, is 18 units of growth hormone effective, but maybe they're asking about, what do you think about 250 milligrams of testosterone? Or what do you think about 500 milligrams of testosterone? So,
sure. Looks like Mr. Harris getting set up, rebounding from the power outage there.
Yeah,
welcome.
All my settings are off. With cameras, the settings are all jacked up now. Sorry, you might have to want to turn me off for a second.
All right, no worries.
Behind the scenes.
There you go. Remove you from the stream. Yeah, people want to see the behind the scenes. How does the magic happen? Lift up the curtain, right? Well, good stuff. Yeah, I mean, we'll kind of jump right into some of that. So you were a trainer, right? For, was it 15 years?
Just over 10 years. Yeah.
Just over 10. Okay.
Yeah. I started training after I graduated from the University of Oklahoma in 2010. And I did that personal training, like in-person personal training, all the way up until the pandemic hit. And then during that time, my online stuff picked up enough where I didn't have to go back to the gym and take my job back. So, but yeah, no, I did mostly in like a commercial gym, like an export fitness kind of setting. That's what we have all over Illinois here anyway. But
when you were doing that, were you still giving advice online? I mean, obviously you were, because I've been following your content for a while, but were you providing like online services?
So yeah, I mean, I started my channel like 7 years ago, and the whole point that I started it was because I was getting tons of questions from my clients, and I just hated repeating myself. So I was like, I'm just going to make videos answering their questions, and they can just watch those, and I can just point them to whatever. And then from there, it just kind of started me just kind of vlogging what I'm doing. It turned into that, and then I kind of went a whole lot of directions on my channel with regards to like food and training and gear eventually. And covering a wide range. I mean, I've put up over 1,400 videos at this point.
That's
so
insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot. It's been a lot of work, but it's finally came around to paying off. So
yeah, I remember way back, you were being trained by Jordan Peters, and I was watching your vlogs. You were doing like the vlogs back then, and you were wearing the weighted vest, walking around like downtown streets and shit. And I was like, man, this guy's crazy.
Yeah. That was a good time. So yeah, walking around with a camera pointing it at myself. Yeah, that whole thing.
I was gonna say, like a lot of people, right? Like after COVID, you kind of had a shift. It sounds like where shifting to online, and I'm just curious too, because a lot of work goes into, as we know, trying to get content out to our audience. A lot of work goes into editing and thumbnails and titles and descriptions, things like that. Do you do all that? Do you work with someone that helps you with that? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, no, that's been all me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, editing everything. Like, oh man, from the beginning, like it was painful trying to edit stuff at the start, because I didn't know what I was doing. I wanted to learn, and it would take me hours to edit a video. And then as you get better and kind of figure out how things go, you get better. But Yeah, I do it all myself. I don't have anybody for like thumbnails or anything like that.
It's less. I mean, it's less the knowledge. I mean, it's hard to learn, but you can learn how to do it. It's the time. And I don't think people realize. They see a video and they think, oh, this person filmed this video. You're 10x the time editing that you did filming it, at least.
That's when I watch other people's videos and it's like edited well. That took some time. So that definitely, like, if you're going to get into YouTube, you've definitely got to be ready to put that time aside, have a decent computer that can edit some stuff. And
it's funny, all the things you notice too once you know they exist that you didn't know existed before. What the thumbnails look like, how thick of a font they use, what kind of font do they use, border around the font, a solid color background, or because there's strategies for all of that. What kind of impact do you have? Do you have an impact scene to start the video? What kind of cuts do you do? Are you doing fades? Are you doing cross dissolves? And you don't even notice those happen for 40 years of my life. Those happened. I knew, I saw them, but I didn't even realize what was going on. But once you learn about them, it's like this whole world that exists that you didn't know existed. That takes a lot of work.
Going back, looking at like my first few years, I'm like, oh my God, those thumbnails are just horrible. Like, what was I doing? I really need to go back and just like redo a bunch of them.
It's so embarrassing. I'm like stumbling. One of the ones I was like going over a research study on a share screen. I'm like, I'm like, this is not good. Like,
well, that's what I tell people that want to get into YouTube. I'm like, just start doing it. Film yourself. You're gonna suck. Accept that you're gonna be terrible at it. The more you do it, the better you'll get. And as time goes on, you'll figure it out. It's kind of like
anything. Like if you want to start bodybuilding, you're not going to walk into the gym benching 315. You have to start out at like the bar and work your way up.
Unless you're Julius Maddox. He started at 500 apparently.
That is crazy.
And he had low testosterone too when that happened. So
270. His test was. That's a true story. He was in not quite a jail. It was like a juvenile detention type thing, but I think he was not technically a juvenile, like maybe 19 or something. And they had a weight room at the facility, and he would just go down and put like 225 on the bar before his girlfriend would come and to get like a pump, And then one day, I think like he bet the guards that he could bench every weight in the gym. And so he had never done anything. He never worked out, period, other than doing like a set of however many could with 225, 20 minutes before his girl showed up. And it was like 505 or something. And he did it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
He was a client of yours for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah. That's how we found out. That's how I know his test level was legit 270 because I saw the blood work.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, he got 777 or whatever his 771 or whatever his bench was raw with under 300 nanograms per deciliter testosterone.
Wow. You see, it's shit like that happens that makes me wonder, like, does it even matter? Like, how much these numbers matter?
I know.
It's like my last blood work, my test was 6,000, and it's like, but does it really matter?
Well, you get to have those delts. I would right. I mean, you got to tell people you bench 700 pounds. Those delts walk around with you. So
that's true. Okay, so I'm curious, what do you think about Sam Sulek that just got signed with Hostile? What do you think about his content? Because it's very minimalist. It's just like literally walking around recording with an iPhone and posting it. And I'm like, how does this guy get 500,000 views on his content?
So when I first started watching Sam's stuff, I was like, damn it, he keeps it so basic. But because it reminds me a lot of when I was first getting started, and I was just like, oh man. But of course, I mean, he's at I think it's just like, first of all, his physique is ridiculous.
Yeah, and crazy.
Starting with that draws people in to be like, what's this guy doing? But it's very interesting how he's done, I think, almost 200 videos, and it was literally just training videos and not even a food video until this last week.
Wow.
Right.
And that was I don't know. It made me almost think like, you know what? Maybe I'm trying too hard sometimes. Maybe I can take a step back and just start putting out a little more content.
Have you
lately
watched?
I've just been doing one a week. What's that?
did you watch Mr. Beast on? He was on Rogan and he was on Lex Friedman. The way he talked about it was, I think anyone who's a business owner, period, but especially someone who does anything and tries to monetize on YouTube needs to watch those 2 podcasts.
Yeah.
Really interesting his approach, where it was, but it's basically the opposite of what we're talking about right now, because his approach is it's much easier to put lots of effort into 1 million view video than get 1,000 videos with 1,000 views.
Yeah.
But
like I said, I think this one's really quick. This is let's see here, bulk day, spring bulk day. Okay,
Yeah.
210,000 views. What did it pull through? Yeah, it's pulling through now.
It's like it's just iPhone in the car.
Yeah, it always starts in the car driving. Then if he's just in the gym, just got.
That's where we're screwing up, Justin. We got to start.
I
know.
And he's got that lifting going on. Just, I mean, he's killing it, but it's like, damn, dude.
Yeah. No SEO in the title or anything. It's just
and the thumbnail is awful. Like I'm pretty sure though, for him, I'm pretty sure he built a huge following on TikTok real quick.
Yeah.
And then a lot of them moved over.
But
350 or 550,000 subs. Yeah, I think he's doing okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it's wild.
Justin, if you posted some of that old content of you throwing weights around, I'm pretty sure it would blow up.
I wish I was still getting after it. Back then, it was. I missed the boat because I was one of the first people on YouTube. We were posting videos when YouTube was brand new. I mean, you can see they're less than 240p. they're like seen through like a t-shirt. It's like so blurry. But if I was stuck with it,
this one didn't do too bad. Whoop. Hold on, sorry.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of you that went pretty viral, like of old school videos of you.
Well, that one makes sense because it looks like it's a bench shirt. It's got all the magic. I'm wearing a shirt, so I'm cheating. I'm using a 2-board, so I'm cheating. Plates are really wide, so it looks like it's more weight than it is.
Those are big plates.
Those plates made my career. Honest to God, those thick plates, because they made, when Steve Kukla and I and Joe was there too, when we were lifting, everything we lifted looked twice as heavy as it
looks
was.
Crazy.
Look at this guy. Wait, it didn't follow me. Damn it. It didn't follow my screen.
What were you in the background?
I'll get it. Hold on. This is, again, I'm fired. Kolton, you're taking over the podcast because us old guys can't do this anymore, man. This is the old babies. This is the Hollywood acting right here, boy. Look at that.
Nice, strong Polish jaw. Perfectly circular face.
Look at Steve's hair, too.
Steve is so young.
My man's hair didn't move once. He's squatting 600 for reps and wouldn't move at all. I hate this guy.
That's awesome.
I'm like, not enough on the calves there, so we're going to put some 45s in.
Forearm and calf action.
That's funny. Yeah, you got a couple over 1 million, Justin. I mean, they've been there since 1982.
Well, they make sense. They're ones with Janae Krozaleski. She's a former male powerlifter who's transitioned. It's like those, when you put those on there, they're getting views. I know when I'm wearing a bench shirt and a 2-board, like anything that can just piss people off. Way more people watch things that piss them off than watch things that they enjoy.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because isn't that thing with you, Chase, where like when you're talking about side effects and things, people don't really buy it, so they're kind of.
Well, I think that pisses them off. Yeah, they're like, what the hell, I don't know. It's just like I'm one of my better ones lately was titled like 5 grams a year, 18 IUs of growth, and then it was like side effects ? And
I'd click on that. I'd click on that even after I already watched it. The next time, maybe something different's on it this time.
It's funny how that works out.
So
play on people's emotions and that.
Yeah.
You were talking about earlier blood work. So how frequently do you get your blood work done?
I shoot for about every other month.
Okay.
About every other month. Sometimes it goes a little bit longer if I'm not like doing anything, if I'm just like on a super low TRT dose. But I've been I just got blood work 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago exactly, and then 2 months ago in May. 3 months ago. So
do you have a specific panel you recommend, or just like a basic metabolic panel, or?
I mean, I go through Ulta lab tests, and I have my own like panel set up with them that
Cool.
it's just called like the Chase Irons Essentials, and any of my people that follow me on there, they can use that, and yeah, it just kind of covers most of the basics that I'd want to see. But
it almost feels like kind of a silly thing, like like what we do. It's not like are we contributing to society, but the true reality is like the fact that people like you are putting out specific blood panels with your name on it and encouraging people to do it is really, you're probably saving, not even probably, you are, I'm sure, because that was something that wasn't historically done, and you're seeing what the ramifications of that was, which is now starting to transition. You're not quite seeing the deaths like you were 5, 6, 7 years ago. And I think a lot of it is because of that. So, I mean, that's really actually, when you think about it, a pretty noble thing.
Yeah. I mean, the first time that I got blood work, like that was like 7 years ago, it was.
This episode is brought to you by First Detachment. First Detachment is an expert formulated supplement company founded by renowned coach Justin Harris. We've combined science with real-world experience in each product. We are battle tested. Are you? Find your battle today at firstdetachment.com.
It was just eye-opening. I was like, holy shit, what am I doing to myself?
Yeah.
And I felt fine at the time. I thought there was nothing going on. I was like, I'm good. Turns out my blood pressure was like 180 over 110, and cholesterol was like over 300, and it was awful. And it was like a basic panel, and at that point, then I was like, okay, we got to figure this shit out. Yeah,
I mean, that's, of all the things of the recent years in the sport and what social media has kind of brought, I think that's the one real big positive, is that it seems like everyone's getting blood work now. And I can't imagine, because of all the deaths you heard about, you only hear of deaths from people who are known, of the, what, 25, 30,000 people who compete in the NPC every year. How many of those are known? 20, 30, so you can pretty much, 1,000x the number of deaths that you heard about. And so, theoretically you can expect to save that number by reversing that. So,
oh yeah. So I have a Discord channel for my paying members, and we have like a blood work section where people come in and share their blood work, and we go over it and try to figure out what's good, what's bad, what we need to work on. But yeah, it's crazy, the people that have no idea, they're brand new into this stuff, and they're just like, well, I got my blood work, what's this look like? And they're like, I want to start my next cycle. And it's like, dude, all your stuff's in the red. Like this is not the place to do that. Not time to back off and get this stuff right,
But that's the key thing, is that's what people were always afraid to get it, because they didn't want to see the bad numbers, because they thought that meant they had to quit everything. But it's not. It just means you now have to take care of everything. It's the opposite. It's that if you weren't getting this blood work, you were going to die. Now that you're getting it, you can continue doing what you're doing, provided you take these steps to improve these few things.
Yeah.
Well, I think going back to like the early 2000s, right, Justin, like, it was so hard to get anything, and we were competing and using things and trying to use, as much science and logic with very limited information. But back then we weren't talking about health markers. We weren't concerned with that. Like, just imagine if we had the access that younger people have today, like, under 25-year-olds, between 15 and 25-year-olds, and how bad they could be messing themselves up. So it's kind of like, on the one hand, there's a lot of scary stuff out there, and probably too much access depending on who you talk to. But on the other hand, at least there's a lot of resources for testing and to check what you're doing, which wasn't the case back when we were coming up, to your point, because how long could you have been walking with that high of blood pressure back in the early 2000s? It might have been 5-6 years. You're just like, I'm jacked, my face is red because I lift heavy, and it's like, no, bro, like, you're in trouble.
Right.
So,
but
is there anything you changed or look at, Chase, to lower some of those markers, like in your, just progression and learning as you go through this kind of bodybuilding journey?
Yeah, I mean, number one is picking the hormones that work best with you, and pretty much what I stick to now is like test and either primo or master on, and like those are relatively, you know, benign to my blood work. There's that, and then, you know, being on like an ARB or an ACE inhibitor, or using a statin or something like that to help keep everything, you know, in line there as well. Because those, 7 years ago, that was definitely not anything that was on my radar. And stupidly, it was just like, for some reason, there was like demonizing that. Like, if you're going to use that, like, you shouldn't be doing any of this at all. But at the same time, it's like, no, these are going to help you stay alive.
And there's a whole population of people who don't use gear who need those things, you know, and most of us probably, I mean, certainly at our body weights, you know, if we had the same body weights, but at a worse body composition, it's not like we would magically not have health problems. You know, if I was 260 pounds at 30% body fat, it'd be even worse. So it's not like, you know, like treating your health issues should never be looked at as I really hate that, to be honest. Whenever you put a post up on Instagram or something talking about health markers and blood work, and there's always people in the comments, maybe just don't use stuff. It's like, yeah, I mean, that's an easy answer, but I can guarantee if I was the same body weight without using things, I would have issues also. So why don't we educate ourselves?
Yeah, they'll say something like that, or they'll be like, "Well, you're on blood pressure medication, so it doesn't count." And it's like, wait, what? And it does.
Yeah, tell it to me when I'm 80, because it's going to count a lot then. I can guarantee it.
Yeah.
Now, are there any culprits out there? Like, I know, you know, that you've seen people using, and I guess maybe Chase will go with you, and then Kolton, if you want to add to it, but any other like compounds, you know, just in general for people who could be using them. I mean, obviously we're a supplement company, and we focus a lot on educational content relative to that, but you know, we know a lot of our audience, you know, maybe using those different things. So is there anything that you guys see as like, hey, these are the no-goes for, in my experience with clients or myself, or any thought?
I mean, yeah, personally, I just stay away from orals as much as I can, you know. Like, the only time that I would consider throwing in something like that would be in a pre-contest type scenario, because I mean, like most guys want to immediately go to those, whether they're in a bulking situation or even just a cutting situation, not even contest prep. And it's like, you can get in great shape without them at all. And I mean, really, like, you could go on stage without them, but you know, there's certainly a little bit help there at the end of
part of that, if you do like what you said, like, you know, you said test and primobalin, you know, if you use things like that in the off season, one of the benefits of that is that you tend to be healthier, so you can push things harder in contest prep, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
And what's even crazier is I just had a client who was asking me, he wanted to try D-ball, you know, and it was and as with the text before that was like, no one around him can believe how fast he's growing, you know. And it's like, you want like the guy that suggested D-ball to you, how fast is he growing? You know, how much progress has he made in the last 9 months compared to you? You know, like, I understand, you know, you want to try everything, is, you know, is the grass greener and stuff. It's like, but the truth is that in reality, the healthier stuff for the off season tends to be better anyways, because you're able to do longer cycles. You're able to stay healthier during the cycles. You don't lose your appetite. You're able to eat more. You're able to train harder. You're not toxic. So at the end of the day, your growth rates are accelerated anyways, and you're healthier going into contest prep, so you can push the boundaries a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, like, a lot of guys have to take a break after a bulk because they're like so unhealthy. They have to come off everything. And it's like, that's kind of what happened during like my last contest prep. We bulked up, and then there was like a 6 to 8 week period where it was just like low dose, you know, getting blood work good. And then we started the cycle to go into contest. And during that time period, I felt like I lost a lot in that time period. And it was like, damn, if we could have just gone straight from end of the bulk and turn it into, you know, the contest prep, that would have been a different story for sure, I think. But
yeah, I always say bodybuilding is really similar to like investing in the stock market. You know, like, you listen to people talk about investing in the stock market. They always say, you know, find the good companies, don't look for the flashy ones, but of course, like, especially like through COVID, when everyone was playing with the stock market, no one wants that. They want to buy the ones that's up 100% over the last 6 months, thinking it's going to do that forever. Where, like guys like Warren Buffett are like, no, trust me, I'm worth $150 billion. You might want to listen. Yeah, but you're old. I want to get rich today. The bodybuilding's the exact same. You got to pay the piper eventually. And so it's either play the smart route, because everyone wants to be big today, but you're not going to be big today. And so what we need to think is that I want to be big in 5 years, because that's really what's going to happen, because you're not going to be big today.
Yeah.
And what gets you there in 5 years is, like you just said, doing the smart route, keeping yourself healthy so you can run longer cycles, so you don't have to take long breaks to get yourself healthy, so you can go into contest prep healthy. So it's really pretty similar when you think about it. It always cracks me up.
Yeah.
That quick return on investment is what a lot of young dudes seek too. And that's why I think Anadrol and D-ball are so popular, because it's not necessarily you grow, but you feel stronger, you feel bigger, you get a better pump, and perceivably that means progress to them. And it just seems like a more acute reward to what they've done. And I think that draws so many people into it.
Oh, yeah.
You hear your buddy talking about like, oh, dude, I have the sickest fucking pumps, and like I'm feeling great, and I'm doing all this shit, and I'm growing so fast, I gained 10 pounds. And in reality, it's just like, obviously, we know it's like water weight and it's perceptual change, not necessarily what's in actuality. And it can become a really bad problem, because like Anadrol and D-ball are going to screw you up. And those are hepatotoxic compounds for a guy to create a really short career with. So,
and what you just said with the 10 pounds is, I don't think people realize 10 pounds of contest weight, you're a different bodybuilder. I mean, if you're like 212 on stage this year and you're on stage 222 next year, you look dramatically different. 10 pounds of water, you don't look any different. 30 pounds of water, you just look a little fuller. And so that's the big thing, is like that number on the scale we chase. But when we're chasing the wrong kind of number, like the Anadrol water weight, you can put 30 pounds on, but 10 pounds of real muscle looks more dramatic of a change than that 30 pounds of water.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, just circling back with, the fertility piece you were talking about earlier, was there anything, you were doing to help, get that back in line, or was it kind of a pretty smooth transition? I guess if there's anything out of the ordinary, because I know you were talking about that before we started recording.
Yeah, I mean, well, so February of last year, when which bodybuilder passed away? February. It was like George Peterson or Cedric.
Oh yeah. It was Peterson, right? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah. That.
Not about that.
I don't know, that after that one happened, I just like really kind of took a step back and brought all my doses down, went to a TRT dose, and went in and, got a calcium score done and started checking things out, and basically spent all of the last year at either a TRT dose or nothing. And then in September, I went and got a sperm test done and a fertility test done, and it said I had zero sperm. It was bottomed out, nothing at all. And then at that point, I was like, okay, let's start. Well, actually, in September, I'd already been like 3 months on HCG. So it was like, okay, well, HCG, clearly we're still at 0. So that's when we put in FSH. So 75 IUs of FSH every other day. And then after another 3 months, I got tested again, and my numbers, I believe it was at 8 million sperm per milliliter at that point. And then 3 months later, I think it was about February at that point, I was at 12 million sperm per milliliter. And then, and then shortly after that, everything was done. We were conceived and successful, and now we're just waiting on a baby. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Any side effects or wonky kind of blood work when you were going through those types of protocols, or?
I mean, not really. Everything looked very natty. That's for sure. It was, it really wasn't that bad. I mean, like I didn't take any sort of like libido hit that I noticed. It I don't know, there during that whole year, it was just kind of like something else that was going on that year was I was building out my gym and putting that together, which I officially like got in that in August of last year. So so yeah, that was going on, and that was taking up a bunch of my time. So I wasn't really like training that often. I wasn't doing, all my priority kind of went in other directions. And but yeah, blood work looked super natty as far as like any side effects from the HCG or FSH. Not really anything that I noticed. Yeah, so it was a pretty smooth deal. I mean, I think I could have, if somebody were to like go straight into it and be like, I want to do this and get my wife pregnant within like 6 months from now. I mean, FSH is very, very potent, but it's also quite expensive product that can get the job done.
Well, it's interesting you said the HCG didn't work, because I've been doing this a long time. I've never seen that work, and that's always the first line go to
really
at HCG. And I've just never seen it result in an increased sperm count in people. And I've been seeing people try it for 20 years probably, and it's. I'm not saying don't use it, but it's as a standalone compound, I've just never seen it work.
Yeah. I mean,
it's really great for increasing sex drive. That's for sure. Fucking amazing for that.
Was there anything related to? Did you work with like a fertility doc or place of that, or was it kind of just your?
No, it was all on my own. Yeah, it was all on my own. Ordering everything where I order everything else, and just doing my sperm test through. I think the website was Levels Health. You do everything from home and send it in. And
I thought you were going to say you did that yourself. Microscope.
What?
5, 6, 7, 8.
Right. Or no, it wasn't Levels. It was God. What was that company? I can't remember. There's some online company where they'll just send you the cup and you send it back and they give you a result within a week. So, yeah, it'll come to me eventually. But
well, good stuff. Yeah. Well, glad everything's moving in the right direction with the pregnancy, and that's exciting stuff.
Yeah, everything's good. Got genetic testing done. Everything looks excellent, nice. And we're just.
Are you worried about? And this is something I've always kind of thought about myself. Any of like the, changes that might happen within the genome from using androgens and growth hormone and IGF-1 and anything like that, and what it could potentially do to the offspring. Because for instance, there's like transgenerational effects that happen when someone gets diabetes or is obese. I imagine the same might be true for us who use the androgens. But I've just consequentially, Mike O'Hearn has a kid and he's fucking jacked. You guys.
He's all natural though. So
yeah, he's all.
I don't think there's, because you're not changing your genetics. I mean, I think like with the type 1 diabetes, I think there's a genetic component where there's like an autoimmune aspect to it. I don't think there's any, because you're not doing anything really that's affecting your genetics. So I don't believe there's any transfer. Because I remember I was worried about that when we were first thinking about having kids, and so I read what I could online, and it seemed like I don't think there's any real risk of it.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not like there's going to be studies on high dose users, but just from the standpoint of the fact that like what you're doing isn't really transferring to the genes in the sperm.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't too concerned. I mean, it's definitely something that crosses your mind, but I wasn't too concerned. I mean, considering I was conceived on steroids. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
finally a boy was conceived.
Right.
I was just going to make a comment about that. Everyone seems to have girls, but okay. Yeah. It is possible.
Yeah. So, I always would ask my dad, like, because what's funny is like he was doing all that in the 80s, and he has no clear idea of what he was doing. I'm just like asking him, like, so do you think you're using Deca and what? And he was just like, I don't know, man. My trainer would fill stuff up. He would hit me with it. give me whatever pills.
It was, yes. Because it wasn't even really, it wasn't scheduled till 89. So not like it was legal, but it was kind of viewed almost like antibiotics. It was like,
So,
I mean, it wasn't, you know, like it was a prescription and everything, but no one cared. It wasn't a scheduled drug.
Yeah.
It's a totally different world.
Oh, there's stories of people taking handfuls of stuff where God only knows how much was in that. It's
the first time I went to GNC, you could still buy GHB. It was in the sleep.
I remember that.
It was a sleep product. It was the mid '90s. Yeah.
I remember that.
I think it had just been banned. It was probably, it was like low on stock, you know, like how like you could get DMAA for like a year or two after it was banned. It was kind of like that deal. But
yeah.
Well, I was #1 in sales across the country for Circuit City because of Exenadrine. With I got jacked up on ephedrine. Like, hey, looking to buy a smartphone today. Like, I mean, they're like, who is this 17-year-old kid just running circles around like these dudes have been just let me grab some water. Let me talk about the extended plan today.
Never wear white shirts.
There's like, dude, this guy's got so much energy. It must be the phones he's selling. Must be the stuff he's selling. I was a ripped up little high schooler. I was a chubby, you know, offense, defensive lineman. And I did Dan Duchesne's Body Opus with with Exenadrine.
It's funny you mentioned that specific one because I'm pretty sure that's like the first like fat burner. I remember I was like 17 or something, and I had to ask my friend who was 18. I was like, "Will you go buy this for me?" And he's like, "Okay, whatever."
Oh man, I remember the first time me and my buddy heard about it. I can't remember which brand it was. Rip Fuel, Xenadrine, one of them with ephedrine. Yeah. I remember we took it, and this is probably 95 or 96, and of course had the most amazing workout. But we were up till 6 a.m. I think we were playing Tomb Raider, just eyes peeled back. Right. I remember his mom was like, "What do you guys take? Speedballs?" We're like, "From GNC, I don't know.
Get it from the gas station or the gas station stuff, right?"
The trucker meth.
Oh, jeez, it was brutal. The good old days, Kolton. The good old days.
I missed out.
So with your gym and things you have going on, your clients, I mean, you know, obviously I know we were talking a little bit offline, like, you know, you had some success competing, I know Paul's been pushing you to hopefully chase the Masters Pro card there. We can get into that in a little bit, but for now, like, what's your clientele look like? Like, who are you primarily working with?
Well, I mean, I've actually stepped away because I was doing just like all online training. So like I was doing, you know, I had the like 10-year stint of in-person training, and then COVID hit, and then stopped all in-person training, and then everything was online from up until about last year. And then things were going well enough through YouTube that I started backing off from online clients. So like I've got a handful of guys that have just been with me for so long, they're easy to take care of, and you know we're sticking together. But yeah, I mean and those people, they're you know just lifestyle people. So, but yeah, I mean most of my income now is related mostly to YouTube, and like I opened my gym for me to film content, and it was the main purpose of it. So, and every once in a while I have you know, a client that I train online who lives locally. He'll come in and, you know, we'll check stuff out. But as far as like how often people are actually here in my gym, it's pretty rare. So I keep it all to myself.
You find because I have a home gym now, and you know, it's always a dream to have one, but it's remarkable to me how much harder it is to get motivated and have a good workout at my home gym than it is when I used to drive to a gym, which does, you know, seems so counterintuitive. It's like should be like heaven, you know, it's right there. You can pick any time, you're all by yourself, any music you want. But have you noticed that at all?
It is great having my own place, but there is something about having a bunch of other people around and feeding off of that energy, and you know, a little bit of your ego gets into it at the same time. You're like, I'm fucking pumped, and you're walking around and you're like, oh god, you know, how many people are gonna ask?
When I'm at home, my 7-year-old thinks anything is heavy, so it's real easy to show off at home. But
so no, I've considered actually like getting a really cheap membership at like one of the local exports, just so that every once in a while I can go in and just kind of like get some human interaction, because otherwise most of my interaction is, you know, this kind of stuff with people. Otherwise I'm at home with my wife, and then I come here and, you know, do this stuff here by myself.
Same. Yeah, no, I'm the same. I'm bad. I'll like head out on Thursday to go do something, and I'll be like, geez, is this the first time I've been out of the house this week?
Right. Yeah. I'm either here at home or at the grocery store. You know, that's
I don't even
much,
go there anymore. I just order groceries.
Same, yeah, shipped.
Yeah.
You go to a gym close by though.
Came like 10 minutes before I got on here.
Kolton, you do a lot of your content in the gyms, right?
Sometimes, yeah. Like I'll go interview people and stuff. I'm really fortunate. I'm in Dallas, so you have like Hidden Gym, you have Destination Dallas, you have John Reed, you have Gold's Gym that's all around, you have Metroflex. I mean, there's so many different gyms here. So I'll like go to different gyms to interview people and just ask stupid questions, and that's really what I'll do for the most part in the gym. Otherwise, you know, the music's too loud, and that's kind of what makes it really difficult.
Yeah, that's definitely another thing. Yeah, I mean the big thing that drove me like hard to, you know, open my own spot was I got told to stop filming in the gym, and I was like, and it was such a hit, and I was like, I don't want to deal with that ever again. So I was like, all right, let's make plans to figure this out, and started saving, and yeah, here we are. Yeah, because there's a lot of good gyms around here in Chicago. I mean, I was going to Quad's gym here.
That's a good gym.
Great. Yeah, there's a ton of stuff in there. They didn't tell me to stop filming, but
crazy.
Yeah, it's they got a lot of stuff.
Interviewed Ed Cohn last week, or this week. The days blend together, but and guys, I don't want to. I apologize. I kind of ruined this whole thing by coming on late. And my daughter, my third oldest high school orientation is at 6:30. It's about a 10-minute drive, so I got about 8 seconds before I got to be in the car. So I'm gonna head out. But I wanted to be on this because I hear your name like all the time, Chase. Whatever you're doing, you get like incredible reach. You know, like there's some names like Trained by JP I hear all the time, but for whatever reason, I hear your name from clients a lot. So you're doing good things. You're getting a real big reach into the community. That's for sure.
Well, that's good. Yeah, thanks. Cool. Yeah. Well, it's nice to meet you.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to bail, but thanks, guys.
Yeah. It's okay.
All right. We'll see you, Justin.
All right. See you.
So yeah, I was going through some of your stuff here. So let's take a look. Let's see here. So I see some of the like mask training things you were doing. Was that something? Were these just kind of for related to COVID, or were you doing it for?
Those were during COVID. Yeah, they let me wear one of those kinds of masks.
Oh, gotcha.
Like a medical mask. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of people were like, how do you breathe in that thing? You can actually take the vent out of it. So it's just literally just there's no way. There's no restriction. So I was like, yes, I'm going to do this instead so that there's zero restriction. I can breathe fine. Because I was choking myself in a mask, and I found these things, and yeah, it looks ridiculous. But
it looks cooler than the regular one, right? I remember being in the gym. It was like, I get a call, you know, back when I was working at a pretty large commercial gym, and they're like, oh, there's an issue upstairs. I'm like, what? I walk upstairs. This lady's like, that guy over there pulled his mask down while he's on the elliptical. And I'm like, what do you mean over, like way over there? Like 100, like it's like a football field away. I mean, it was a massive gym. I won't name the name of it, but it was massive. And I'm like, okay, so like, is it 6 feet or is it not? Because we're talking like 6,000 feet, lady. Calm down here. So, well, at least that's behind us, you know. So,
thank goodness.
Oh yeah.
What about so just kind of going back to the competition, you know, how did you prep for that? Like what, and are you currently kind of working on anything relative to, you know, your training for upcoming shows here?
I mean, so I did that with Jordan Peters. He coached me through that. And yeah, I mean, as far as like what kind of training we did, I mean, it was all push, pull, legs throughout the whole thing. Push, pull, rest, legs, rest was the rotation. As far as like the Diet, it was kind of like carb cycling throughout. We had high days on leg days and back days, and then there was like a standard training day, and then rest days were super low. And as far as like the cycle went, it was super, super moderate. I would say it was very, very, very moderate. The only thing that, would throw blood work out of whack was the trend that was involved, which was still a pretty low dose, but otherwise I believe it was just like test and primo or mast is what we ran with that. And then towards the end, there was Anavar was involved at a low dose at the end. No diuretics or anything like that. A little bit of water and carb manipulation at the end. That it was really weird because like a week before the show, I was like 220, 225, and I felt like things looked really good. And then throughout the like peak week, my weight just like started falling off of me until I think I weighed in at like 207 or something.
Oh, wow.
I know. Yeah. I was like, what the heck? And I just felt so like stringy and flat. And I was super lean, but yeah, something, I don't know. I feel like I lost entirely too much that last week because like it was like 2 weeks later, I was back up to 230 and things like looked really good. Like, yeah, things look really good at that point. But my biggest weakness is definitely my legs need to come up. But ultimately everything needs to grow. But my legs definitely need more, and that's been something that I've been pushing on a lot these last couple years. And unfortunately, I just got an MRI done last week showing that I have 2 tears in the meniscus in my left knee. In my meniscus. Yeah. So that's a bummer. Which I actually, looking back, it made me realize that I think I've had those for a really long time, and they've just like flared up off and on over the last maybe decade, because I remember talking to my clients about it years ago, being like, I think I just have like, maybe I like tore a ligament or something. But back then it was just like, I was broke, didn't have insurance, didn't care. It was like, it went away and I could do stuff just fine. And it would flare up every once in a while. But yeah, so that's going on right now. I have surgery for that scheduled September 14th, but the doctor says it's not a big deal. They just go in, take a look at it, make sure it is what it is, take out the pieces that they need to. And they said most likely I'll be walking out of the surgery and I'll be good to go like 3 weeks after that. So not that big of a deal, really, but it makes me wonder, like, is this what's kind of been holding me back a little bit all these years, possible. So yeah, that's going on right now, but hopefully that'll be a quick fix and I can get back on with it.
Unrelated question to the whole prep thing. Now that you're kind of pushing things a little bit higher and you've been doing this growth hormone experiment, a lot of people are under the perception that growth hormone grows your waist pretty significantly, and that's what causes like the GH gut. Did you notice any like, obviously you grew in size in general, so like your waist is going to grow at some capacity, but like, did you notice any radical gut distension or any sort of, I don't even know if you got like liver ultrasounds or any kind of imaging?
So not any different than what I've experienced before in years past bulking. Okay. So like, I feel like my waist does get thick as I get up to, 250, 260, 270. Because I've been to 270 before and I got to 280 now. And yeah, in years past, yeah, my waist is definitely thicker than, but that was on way less growth hormone. So I haven't seen a difference between, doing 18 IUs now versus like 6 to 8 IUs years ago, as far as like waist thickness goes or anything like that. I haven't gotten any ultrasounds done yet on my organs, but I did find a place in New York that I'm actually looking at doing a full body ultrasound. Cool. Yeah, that'll be Yeah, I was actually talking to Steve about it. He said he thinks he's probably going to go get it done too, because it looks like a pretty good deal. But yeah, they do just a full like torso organ scan and
nice.
give you all the information. But yeah, so that's in the works anyways.
Okay.
So
do you find that like when you transition from that bulking phase that you come back down in waist size a little bit once you start?
Oh yeah. No, I've got a video up on YouTube actually going over like a vacuum protocol. And even at like once I get down under 240, things are, I can do a vacuum decently well. I mean, I guess the video that I have up, it was like day 2 of vacuum training, but I think I have a short up. I think I have a short up where I'm like,
I've seen it.
220, 230 doing a vacuum. And once I got like a month in of practicing vacuums, could really suck it in pretty good. But it might even be on my Instagram on there. But yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is taking the time to do the vacuum training, because like I haven't been doing that right now. Like and I pretend I like try to do it every once in a while. It fucking hurts. It like cramps up and it's like, oh my God. So yeah, I mean, once I start dieting and eating less food and bringing the weight down and start doing vacuum training, after about a month of that, things really clean up in that regard. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like I feel like it's part of it for me, at least. Like when I get to these weights, it's just kind of something that comes along with the territory.
Well, with the vacuum training, I mean, we were interviewing John Jewett. Actually, we're going to have him and Renee on tomorrow.
That's cool.
And he was on a couple months back, but we're just going to kind of recap his show and her show and talk a little about that. But he talked about the biggest thing he did was vacuum training. And I thought that was, because Justin was commenting on, I think it was from Nationals, when he turned pro.
Huge difference.
To early as a pro, and just massive change. And he accredited a lot of that to it, because I know when I competed 2 years ago, like I did a lot of powerlifting and strongman through my early 20s was powerlifting, early 30s was strongman. But so I thought that was maybe attributed to the waist, but but a lot of it was the thickness. I think on the, the bulk of it, I think a lot of it I could probably train differently and work on the control of the muscles to pull them in. And so that's something I would like to do. I know Kolton's got a pretty sick vacuum as well. So I'm jealous you guys that can pull it in like that. I got some work ahead of me.
Vacuum training it's not fun. It is not like, especially when you go from no training to getting yourself, like you get up first thing in the morning and you just like go in the bathroom, you got your hands on the counter and you're just like, all right, here we go. You just pull it in and hold it as long as you can. And just, I set a timer up and kind of go on like a Tabata type training.
That's what I was going to ask. Can you walk through, just especially for our audience out there, there's, different methods out there. Definitely encourage them to check out your YouTube as well. But can you kind of walk through what that protocol looks like generally for you? And then maybe Kolton, if you want to add to how your approach as well. But
yeah, I mean, the training that I do for it is it's literally like a reverse Tabata training. So I'll hold the vacuum for 10 seconds and then take 20-second rest in between. And sometimes I'll like maybe go into like a front relaxed and try to hold a front relaxed while doing a vacuum, and then hit different poses that I would try to do a vacuum in, like a front double or a front lat spread or something like that. Hit those different poses for 10 seconds at a time while pulling that vacuum in as much as I can. And as far as like length of time, when I was doing it, it was a 20-minute routine. So it was basically 5 Tabata rounds, because a Tabata round's like 4 minutes. So yeah, I would set a timer. It would ding when to stop, ding when to start, and I would just go at it. And I mean, I would be sweating by the time I was done, because it's not, it's hard. But once you do that for a month and you're in a deficit, you're not eating much food, like you'll definitely make progress. Yeah, I can't remember I can't remember. Like I said, I have a YouTube video where I literally go straight through that, the whole, and even put like the timer on the video for people to follow along. But yeah, it was like after a month, it was a huge difference. Like already in that. That being said, I was dieting as well, so within a month's time, probably lost like 10 pounds or something too.
Sure,
which definitely helps. But yeah.
How about you, Kolton? What's your approach to it?
It's very similar. I do like, I think about it as like sets, but I'll start fasted in the morning and I'll bend over a counter and then like suck in as hard as I can. And then I'll practice that for 2 or 3 rounds, holding it for literally as long as I can, and then forcefully exhaling, crunching down on my abs and then pulling it again. And then on the 3rd time, I'll transition, kind of like Chase was doing, transition into like a front double, do the front relax, like just try to hold it as long as I can in every single pose. And then I'll go do fasted cardio. And then once I'm done with the cardio, I'll actually do one where I'm laying on my back and I'm like kind of hurtled over, trying to pull in as much as I can into my like upper cavity of my diaphragm and just like pull as hard as I can before I train abs. I train abs every day right after cardio, but I'll do that right before I train abs, like just suck in as hard as I can. That in and of itself like gets my abs pumped, and like you feel like the transverse abdominis, like that internal muscle being worked when you really suck. I mean, it's a weird feeling, and it's hard as fuck to like maintain that connection. It's like Chase said, you like sweat. It's like, I can see why people don't do it, because it takes a ton of time on top of all the other shit we're already doing. Yeah.
Something else that I found that helps even more, like feel that deep burn underneath everything, was getting a waist trainer, putting that on, and then trying to vacuum with it. It's crazy. Like you can pull in so much deeper, but it feels like there's a different connection there, where it's a really deep burn, like all the way across. Like
that's a good idea.
Yeah,
no,
something to throw in.
Chase is doing 10 seconds. Like, Kolton, how long are you?
It's like 5 to 10. It's just
okay.
Usually people start out and they can literally only do like 3 or 4 seconds.
Yeah.
So it escalates from there. If I can get someone to do 10 seconds, I can rarely do 10 seconds, like badass of holding it. But
because I was curious about that. Like, do you also in your posing practice like work on the vacuum, but then breathing with your, you know what I mean, from the top, from the diaphragm more, so that you can kind of have a partial one as you're holding that pose? Because I realized if you lose it a little bit, right, like it can really, and if the judge happens to be looking at you during that time, it can really throw off all the work that you just put into that specific look. But
yeah, I mean, I try to do like micro breaths, like through my nose and breathe through that upper diaphragm. So I'm like I'm literally like hyperventilating in a sense. And it's like really uncomfortable, honestly, to pose like that. And you have to, like you said, it's like a semi vacuum where you're like kind of holding.
I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick.
Okay. It's like a semi vacuum where you're holding it a little bit. You're tucking it in your rib cage, and you find a really convenient time. That's why I practice where I exhale, do the vacuum, and then I crunch my abs down and then hyperventilate and inhale, so that I can train to never let my abs just completely loose. They're always kind of kept in tension. And then when I turn to do another quarter turn, it's always like I have to keep that hyperventilation going, keep my abs flexed the whole time. And then when I really like the statement pieces to my posing, or like the front double, where I really try to dig like a huge, deep vacuum in, that's where I'll like let it all out and like I kind of like bow over to like let myself crunch air out and then pull it back in.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I do it. When you're practicing on a fed stomach, it's really hard. Like, especially if you had an intra-workout shake, if you've had pre-workout meal, a post-workout meal, and then you start posing, it's like virtually impossible to do a vacuum. I think everyone has this conception like you should just be able to do a vacuum whenever. It's really hard to do a vacuum if you're on like a fed stomach.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, all good. No, that makes sense. I mean, because I always like, back when I was, when I got back into it and did my show, I was playing around a lot with poses, obviously trying to work in the vacuum work. Could have did more. But I know like specifically like front lat spread, that was one that it was interesting that the more I can keep the air up, like the wider I looked, but the more my six pack would flatten out a little bit because it was more pulling in versus muscles popping. So I was being like always historically a bigger, stronger, look like a thicker looking guy. I kind of liked having the abs stick out, but it also took away from the V taper when I did that. You know what I mean? So
that's something that that's something that I struggle with now is like when I do posing, I'll like, do what I can with a vacuum. And then it's like, do I want to crunch that down a little bit more? Cause it just like makes things pop out differently. But yeah, it's definitely something, I don't know, especially like, I feel like it's something that I shouldn't be worried about considering like I'm not even close to even like starting a contest prep. And it's like everything changes so much as you lean out, it's hard to judge what things would look like at this point. But yeah.
Now, is that normal for both you guys? Just kind of year round, you're just doing cardio most mornings? Is that, what's that look like?
For me, for sure. I always am doing cardio year round, regardless of the state I'm in. It's just like the duration is what really changes.
Yeah. Like right now I do 30 minutes every morning just on the treadmill. Pretty casual walk, a pretty low incline, but I get to 120 beats per minute and just
that's good.
Yeah. Answer emails and chill on it. Not killing myself on it, but
I to give people context, I read books while I'm doing it. So it's not like it's super vigorous, but
yeah.
I used to be my favorite on the bike with a book. Like zone out with that. And
love that.
I may be dating myself because it was even before there was any streaming way back in my early 20s when I was competing. So I had to do the books. That's all I could do. But I think it's missed in a lot of people's, programs out there. Just working in the cardio, year round or off season, especially the guys that are concerned about wanting to put on more size. It's like, well, it increases appetite, insulin sensitivity, blood circulation, the list goes on and on of all the not only the health benefits, but the benefits of growth. Yeah. So you mentioned the surgery in September, and then I guess I'll tie this into kind of two questions because we mentioned Paul earlier. So I know Big Paul is busting your chops about competing at Masters, but how do you know Paul? And then potentially when does that Masters run look like for you? What's that timeline for you? So I guess a two-part question there.
Yeah.
I mean, interrupt really quickly. I have to bounce if that's all right with everybody. Sorry. I have a client call like in 10 minutes. So
sure. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yep. Yeah. So I've heard about Paul. So during that time last year where I wasn't like training consistently, I was kind of like taking some time off. What I was doing on YouTube was a daily live stream. So I was live streaming daily, just trying to stay in contact with my people and just answering questions constantly. It'd be, an hour to 2 hours every time that I did one of those. And one of my regulars in there was like, hey, have you seen this guy, Paul? I think you would really get along with him. A lot of what he's talking about is similar to what you talk about. And I don't know, like it was funny. The first time that it was mentioned, I was just kind of like, oh yeah, okay, I'll look at it. I'll look at him at some point. And then next week the guy brought him up again, and I was like, who is this guy? Is this your brother or something? Like, what are you? Why do you keep pushing him on me? What's going on? And then finally, I don't know. Somebody mentioned it again. I was like, okay, let me go see who this Paul guy is.
Sure.
And started looking around. I was like, oh yeah, he's pretty much exactly a lot of the same stuff that I'm talking about. And then, eventually Paul started doing live streams, and he does his live streams where sometimes he'll let people come in, like click on the link and like come into the thing and join and ask a question. And so, so I did that, and it kind of was, I felt like I was on there for a little long, like 10 minutes or so. And from there, it was just kind of like, hey, if you want to come back on, it'd be cool. So, since my gym opened and I started getting back in the swing of things, I stopped my daily live stream and I go on Paul's weekend live stream now. And
nice.
So I do that with him whenever I can. And it's been fun. Also getting some human interaction there.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, and you can't miss it. Not only is Paul a great guy, but the whole group is pretty, you know,
oh yeah, it's
entertaining as well. Just to
it's
mix
a
it
nice
up with those
dynamic.
guys. I know Justin and I have rotated quite a few times, and you know, talked to them online and got a few workouts in with them out at the shop gym there in Virginia and stuff. So good group of guys. But what I think we'll kind of wrap on this last question though, just to read, you know, timelines, baby's coming early next year. You know, what does it look like for you for the next competition? What do you have lined up?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm gonna be kind of dieting down a little bit throughout this year, just so that I don't feel like a complete slob when I get to Swiss and the Olympia. But not, you know, not anything dieting hard. But as far as like competition wise goes, I believe that in April, Fouad Abiad is doing the Detroit show out there, and I think that there's like an amateur side to it as well.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to go there because there's supposed to be a lot of I mean, there's going to be a lot of people, a lot of pros out there that I would love to meet. So I'm thinking maybe I could potentially contest prep for that in April, and then figure out what kind of masters nationals type show is going on shortly after that. So I haven't looked at it super closely, but that's really all that's on my radar right now. But yeah, any contest that I do, it'll be early to mid next year for sure.
Nice. Well, definitely let us know if you head to our area. We're you know, we love to get involved in the community. We were just at a powerlifting gym, powerlifting and strongman gym recently in Boston.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that in Rochester Hills.
Yep.
That's where my wife's like whole family is. We go up there all the time. I didn't know that gym was out there. I was like, what is this place?
Yeah.
Because usually out there I go to like whatever like powerhouses over there or something. But
I'm at a powerhouse in Clarkston, which is about 20 minutes north of Rochester Performance Gym. But I go there some weekends. There's a group of guys, someone I know, really, really smart strength coach. Actually, he was on Paul's channel before, and we'll have him on some Q&A soon because he's just wicked smart when it comes to program design and strength protocols and stuff. So every once in a while, I'm like, hey, put together a program for me. I can't do it for myself. I keep hurting myself or whatever. And there's a group of young college guys that he trains with for strongman training. So I'll hop in, and got to know the owner, Steve, there. We did our photo shoot and like little video shoot there. Plan to do a couple more. And then he's got a couple meets coming up that we're going to be at. And, you know, it's just a cool community, right? Like powerlifting, strongman, bodybuilding, like just like any other industry, there's some people out there maybe that aren't the best, but the majority, I think, are just down to earth, have a love for the sport and giving back to it. And that's kind of, you know, what was really cool, just to have a nice show up to the seminar, just good, you know, good discussions, and hoping for many more. So
you and Justin are in that area in Michigan?
Yeah. So I'm more on the east side of the state. He's on the west side of the state. So he's roughly 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours for me. Cool. And we got a few other people in Michigan, and then one in Virginia.
I know Todd Lee's in Michigan too.
Yeah, he's in West Bloomfield, which is probably another 20 minutes from me. So, I didn't even know that when we had Todd on our episode, he told me that, and Justin knew that. I just didn't put two and two together. You know, you just see people on social media, don't look at the location.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, wait a minute. It's like I've never met him, but Mike Israetel's from Michigan also, and my friend Joe, who's the strength coach I was talking about, knows him a little from Royal Oak Gym, I think it was called. It was like a known, you know, lifting gym, and they used to host like powerlifting meets and stuff. I know in my early 20s, I used to have to go there for weigh-ins when I did powerlifting, but so it's just interesting. Like this Midwest area has some.
I didn't know all those guys were there. Yeah, I mean, so like my lease here for the gym is up in 3 years, and the game plan is, so we were going to move to Rochester Hills.
Okay.
A couple of years ago was, I thought, and I asked my wife, I was like, okay, so what are we doing? I need to figure this out, because either I'm opening a gym there, I'm opening one here. And she was like, I'm not ready to leave Chicago yet. So I was like, okay, well, here we go. And so got the lease here. It's up in 3 years from now. So the idea is, I mean, we'll be in that area eventually. So
yeah, it's a beautiful area. I'm sure you've seen it, but like the winter lights, you know, in the wintertime, they have the downtown. I'm sure you saw that. It's like, you know, people travel from all over to see it. And I used to actually work on Avon and Rochester Road, and my wife and I in that general area worked for on and off for 10 years between the two of us at different locations in the industry. And it's a good place to raise kids too. Like Clarkston, where I'm at, is like a smaller, kind of more hometown version of that. It's not, you know, it's definitely a bigger setup, but all in, just a great place. So
we got married there. The whole lights and stuff. It was in December. Nice. It was in December. Like everybody was out there. It was really cool. But
good deal.
I know that area pretty well. So
well, thanks for jumping on. We'll definitely have to ping you from time to time, and hopefully we definitely won't compete with Paul's Q&A, but we don't want to do that to each other. But we'll have to tag you in if you're open to it sometime in the future. And I know our audience would love it. And thanks so much for joining us. And
for sure, anytime. It's not a big deal at all. It'd be cool.
Awesome, man. Well, for everyone out there listening, just remember 1D Talks, and you can find us on YouTube and all the places where you can see or listen to, I should say, any audio version of our podcast as well. So thanks again, everybody, for supporting the show. We'll see you.
All right.